All right then, I hope everyone has their connection set up and everything's working okay. I'm going to get started now, so let's get the ball rolling. Firstly, I'd like to welcome you all to our first webinar for Schoolbox. It's pretty exciting for me to finally get to do this and talk to you all. So I'm looking forward to showing you through all the version 14 features and how it is all coming together and ready for release in the next few weeks. So I'll get started. Firstly, if you do have any questions during this session, you can type them into the chat. I have muted everyone during the presentation so there's not too much noise going on, so all you'll hear is me. But if you do have any questions coming up during the session, feel free to put them in the chat. At the end of the session, Sean is going to read through the most pertinent questions and put them to me, and I'll endeavour to answer your questions. We don't have a whole lot of time. We only probably have about an hour and a half, so I'm probably not going to get through everything, but I'll try and cover as many features and questions as possible. Also note that we are recording this webinar so that it will be available for all those that have missed out on slots or had technical difficulties getting connected. We'll make sure that this is all available at the end so that you can actually download it and watch it again in all its glory. So, moving on to what we're going to cover today, I'm going to go through the, I guess, the main notable features of the system and talk a bit about some of the more key stuff that is important. We're going to look at some of the notifications. We're going to look at inline grading, resource booking, collaborative documents, and I'll take you a tour around some of the things that we've done through the system just to point it out as we go. So, getting straight into it, I'm going to switch over to our build site now. Now, just as to get started, everything here looks pretty normal. If you've seen our demo site before, nothing has particularly changed. The first thing I'm going to actually take us into is actually the admin system, and I'm going to go through some of the new admin features. First thing you'll notice is we've cleaned up some of the design and look of the admin system just to make it a bit cleaner, a bit simpler. The main thing I wanted to show you here was under the settings area. We have a new area called LMS policy, and that's really important that you go through this and review these policy settings and make sure that they fit with the policies that you have in your school. There's some new features here, and some of the old ones are being rewritten to be a bit clearer. We've also clarified some of these and made them a bit simpler to understand. The three that I wanted to point out, the three new ones, are students' midterms. This box here allows you to pop up a terms and conditions box when students submit work. So if you want to get students to confirm that the work is their own, or you want them to confirm that that work is you know, of their own or of any one of your policies you have when students submit work, perhaps you have a cover sheet that students must agree to and attach to their work. This can replicate that type of functionality, and this will be popped up when students submit work and ask them to agree to these terms. Below that, we have hide grades from parents. The hide grades from parents feature allows you to actually hide the entire grade system from parents. Now, plenty of people have asked me over the last few months to enable the ability to hide the grade button from the parent view when the parents log in, so they can't see that grade button. This will actually remove grades completely. It will remove that button. It will also remove grades being visible from all the places like due work that parents can get to. So you've got quite a few things now that you can use to control what parents see. You've got displayed grade average to student and parents. You can control the grade average, the class average, and also the details from parents as well. They can be completely hidden as well. So if you want to remove, you know, the worksheets and the actual details of what the work requirement is and just leave the due dates, you can do that as well. So through a combination of these settings, you can probably get the policy that suits you. Finally, down the bottom, there's this maximum submission grade visibility control. That allows you to control the highest possible visibility that teachers can set when when creating assessment items within the system. So if you want to, if you've got, for example, hide grades from parents ticked, there's actually no point in teachers ever publishing work to parents. So perhaps you would only set it to staff and students. So that means that they'd only have the ability to see staff only and staff and students in the visibility controls. I'll talk a bit more about the visibility controls a bit later. We've done a lot of work around that. But that allows you to control the maximum setting. In effect, if you had a setting such as maximum submission grade visibility set to staff and students, grades would never be available to parents anyway. Even if they could see the grade card, it would be empty because no teachers would ever be publishing grades through to that report card. So the LMS settings I just want to go over. There is a couple of other things, but I'm not going to go through them all, but you can find the details in the release notes, but they're the important ones in the LMS area I want to point out. Next tab that's new that I want to go over is the Messages tab. Now this is how the notification system is controlled. Now the idea behind the notification system was that you'll see a new little bell up here in the top right hand corner, and this little bell will turn red and put up a number when you get new notifications, and they will list down through here as they come through from the system. Now when you set up the system, you can actually configure what notifications appear in this little box here, what notifications are emailed, what go out via digest emails. I'm just going to go through some of those settings and how they're set up. Firstly, the digest schedules here allows you to set when digest emails will be sent. So you can have your frequency of digest emails at whatever frequency you like. It could be daily, it could be just on one day a week, it could be twice a week. It's up to you to decide when you want those digests sent and what time is the most appropriate time for that digest email to be sent out. So you can see here I've got this sent out Tuesday and Thursday at 10 o'clock. Parents are going to get a digest email with all the notifications that have been assigned to that digest email in that email for them. So this is an extension of the existing digest email system. I had to further configure it than what's available at the moment. Over on this left-hand side, there's a few other things. You can now see a preview of the digest emails, so you're able to see what these digest emails will actually look like in your systems. And we've actually gone ahead and created quite a few skins already for you, so that when you go look in your system, you'll see that we've already branded your emails so that they look and feel like school branding. If you have any queries about that, of course, we can talk to you about improving those designs and adjusting them if you wish as well. We've also got instant emails. So instant emails are emails that are sent immediately upon an event, whereas digests are sent on that regular interval. Clicking into global message settings here, I'm now able to see all of the messages that the system will possibly send and how they will be sent. You can see there's quite a lot of messages, and this is going to continue to grow over time as we add in more and more systems into this. We're only just getting started. There's many more systems that are going to be added into the notification system. Inside each of these messages is the ability to control how they are sent and who they're sent to. You can see here send a message when a student attempts a quiz that you posted. This particular message is specific for staff roles, so it only goes to administration and teachers. We've enabled it to be on, and this little red arrow here indicates who that message will be sent to, or how it's going to be sent. In this case, it's going to be sent instantly. Okay. The other controls that you have, so I can drag this from digest to instant to email and change the way that that will actually be sent. The other options I have control the range. Now as this is from the system side, I'm setting the defaults and the range, but the users themselves can actually go ahead and configure how they want to be notified themselves. Now the range ability gives you the ability to control what settings they have to control on their end. You might say that you always want teachers to be notified instantly or via email. So now you've got the ability to control how they're notified and when, and what options they have in terms of unsubscription. So all of these messages have all of those controls, and so there's a lot of different controls you have. We've gone through and set some reasonable defaults on all of these things. So you should find the system's reasonably sane about how it notifies. We've lent towards using the instant messaging system up in the top right-hand corner in most cases. And in some cases, for example, when we want to really notify people that they need to do something, we send an email. So that might be something like overdue work, or we need to emergency notify you of something for some reason. Let's see if I can find an email. So an email is sent when, for example, your student requests boarding house leave, for example. So that's the notification system. Obviously, there's a lot of areas of control there, and it will continue to grow over time. There's some filters here. Just be aware that you can filter down to particular user groups and see the messages that just affect them. Obviously, different messages will affect different types of users within the system. Moving along, the final button I'm just going to go over quickly is the cleanup button. We've done a bit of an overhaul of the cleanup system and added some new features and functions to the cleanup, just so you're aware that you can now clean up deleted files and expired news separately, which was always a sane thing to do. It just never had happened. So those can now be done independently of each other. The other thing that we've got here is the ability to clean up some of the cache systems. So the stream cache is a new one that allows you to delete all the background things that we cache within the system, things like data that we've downloaded off the internet, from calendar subscriptions, all the other places that we actually download content. You can actually clean those stores out now. So that button's available there to clean that up. All right, that pretty much covers the admin system. I'm going to move now back into my home pages and talk about some of the new features that are available on a home page. Firstly, we've added a new component called breadcrumbs. This was a popular request. It's available under resources. You'll find a new component called breadcrumbs. That component, when added to the page, will give you links to the full path that this page is located under. So you can use this if you're using pages such as in internet form and you want to build up links automatically based on the hierarchy. This component will do that for you. It has the ability to select alternate source, so if you want to trick it a bit, you can point at a different source and it will provide you obviously the path to that different source. Be aware, however, that if you do use this, when clicking on these icons, sometimes they will throw you straight back into the resource browser. So just be careful when using that feature. It's not always the best experience. Next component that I'm just going to quickly talk about is the surveys. With the survey builder, we've added two new features to the surveys. Firstly, when you're creating a survey, you now have the option to allow students to submit multiple times. So I'll call this quick feedback. And down here we have options that can be selected. Obviously we already had anonymized results and notify creator via email. But we also now have the ability to allow participants to submit multiple responses. This will just allow them to keep retrying and retrying the same survey and resubmitting it over and over again rather than just limiting to their first submission. The other option that we've added into the surveys is the ability to create mandatory questions. So when you're creating a question within the survey, you simply tick the mandatory box, and that will mean that people cannot submit their survey until they've completed that particular question. So you can use that to enforce the user to actually fill out certain fields. Okay, back to my home page just quickly. I should note also, and nice to have, there's now a return to home page button in both the quiz and the survey builder, so you can always jump back to your page directly from inside and modify the creator for surveys now. The other new component we have here is the collaboration docs. This feature uses an existing tool that was out in the market that is based on the early version of Google Docs. In fact, Google Docs is this product. So we repurposed the system and then built it into Schoolbox. The idea behind this is that it creates a document that is real-time collaborative so that multiple people can log in and type in real time and use the one document space. Now by default, this system is set up to be open to all. So when I go in here, people will be able to connect. I can of course control by locking it down up here. If I want to lock this document, that will then stop being editable and be frozen in that state. And only people with write access, for example the teacher, can actually then edit this document from that point forward. There's some other features here just be aware of. The little person icon will tell you who's logged into the document at any one time and also tell you what colour they're typing in. So when I type, you can see that my text is automatically coloured by the colour that I have. If I want to change that, I can of course change that colour and it will change what colour my text is. Some other options you've got is the ability to change and go through the history and view that history in real time. So as people work on the document, you can replay it and actually watch that develop over time. There is the ability to export this document as well, so you can export it and import documents as well. So you can bring in existing sources and you can also export this out as a Word document or PDF and save it for other purposes after it's been created. Okay, so that basically sums up the new homepage components. The next area that I'm going to go through is the actual learning management system. So I'm just going to log in as our old friend Walter White, our chemistry teacher. Now, Walter White has a range of different subjects, and I'm just going to go into his science homepage and go through how some of the new components work. So you can just see how we're using these new features for the learning management system. Firstly, we've got the online assessments has been renamed to quizzes. So what used to be called online assessments has just been renamed quizzes. This was just to be a bit more succinct and make it a bit more distinct from other types of assessments. We now use the term assessments for both quizzes and due work. So they had to, basically online assessments was confusing, so we made sure that quizzes was completely separate from that and gave it its own clear title. When you create a quiz, you now have some new options available. The first one is the visibility. Now we've discussed controlling the maximum setting for this earlier. You can see here I can choose from those options. And this allows me to actually set quizzes that the students don't get the results for. So if I wanted to not allow the students to immediately see the automatic marks when they finish, which is a common request that we've had over the years, you can set this to staff only, and that means that when the students finish the quiz, they won't see the results. They'll be brought back into your mark book, but they won't be available for the students to see until you change the visibility. And that's up to you when you switch that. Other than that, the online assessment, now called quiz, is basically the same features and functions as before. Looking at the rubrics, we've now added the ability for the rubric system to be soft deleted. Now previously we had some issues with teachers who were creating rubrics criteria to test out, using them, and then wanting to remove them and not wanting to use them in the future. The system previously would grey out the criteria once you'd used it and no longer let you delete it. The system's now been updated so that you can delete criteria that have been used. They will still be left in the system and referenced by the assessments that use them, but they'll no longer be visible when selecting criteria in the future. When I'm posting due work, we've now added the ability to actually control the weighting of each rubric descriptor. So previously these points were automatically assigned. So you would automatically get 0, 1, 2, 3 behind the scenes and you had no control over that. Now we've enabled you to control the actual weighting. This allows you the flexibility to, for example, control the direction. If you wanted to weight them the other way around and have highest first and lowest last, you can do that. If, for example, you wanted to adjust one of the criteria to be worth more than another, so for example, perhaps this criteria is only really worth 2 points, whereas the criteria is worth 8 points, you can adjust the weighting of those criteria so that they suit your particular requirements. This also allows you to do things such as lessen the amount of actual options you have, because if you have 0 points for both of those, they're both I guess, equivalent, so they don't add to the extra options that you have. There's lots of flexibility there with adjusting those points. Going into the actual submission system itself, we can see that we've cleaned up this interface slightly to improve the usability. One of the main things that we've added is the ability to see the visibility of all your assessments. So you can actually see who can see each of these assessments. This little one single person means staff and students can see it. The double person means staff, students and their parents can see that item. So that's a little parent standing behind that child, a little helicopter parent. If I go into our class mark sheet, and up here in the top right, top corner, I can expand out this option, and here where I can control the weighting, I can also now control the visibility. So once I've finished marking these particular assessments, I can now publish these to staff, students and their parents simply by clicking on that button. So I'm happy with those results and I'm ready to publish them. That allows me to quickly publish them out to the appropriate people. Be aware that while work is set to staff only, we do not keep any revisions of marks. Now previously we would have always kept revisions of marks if they were revised after 6 hours. While the visibility is set to staff only, if you revise the marks during that staff only period, no revisions are kept. This will ensure that if you're having multiple reviews and getting the marks adjusted over time, those revisions won't be visible to the student when you go and publish that work to those students. A couple of other things that we've done in the submission system. We had quite a bit of feedback around the course builder and course system. We've now improved the way the course builder works. We've improved the look and feel of the course progress report. So you can see here that there's nice big green ticks. The students also have these nice big ticks on their view as well, so they can see as they tick off the items very clearly, the ones that they've completed and the ones that they have yet to complete as well. Note that as I tick this, this will obviously go back and notify the student that they completed that task as well. Now I'm going to go through one last feature before I move on to resource booking. In the LMS side of things, we have obviously this is our grade entry screen. And this has now been adapted and improved. We've removed the ability to upload files from this screen as it was causing some confusion. So we've actually removed the ability to upload files directly from this screen altogether. What that has allowed us to do is increase the size of the comment field. That was a commonly requested feature, so we've increased the size of the comment field. The other thing that we've got here now is our inline grader. Now this is a new way to mark your assessments. So obviously if you're just doing a non-submitted work, you can just mark it directly through this sheet like so. But if you are receiving online submissions, you can click the View Submissions button. This will actually bring up the work inline in the browser. So if they've submitted a PowerPoint, a Word document or a PDF, I'll actually be able to see that directly in the browser and comment and write directly onto that document. So I can insert comments. I can draw directly onto their thing. Change the colours. So you can see there you can actually update and modify directly into their document and then save and continue and move on and view the next student's work. The student hasn't submitted, but I can see here all the students that have submitted. And this is actually an image, so I can just see the image. And so on and so on. So it'll do different things for different file types. For Word documents, PDFs and PowerPoints, like I said, it'll open in this Crocodoc system. If it's an image, video, HTML, it'll open directly in the browser in that window. If it's a file that we can't open in the browser, it'll provide a download link for you to download that file, and you'll go through the traditional process of downloading, viewing that in a specific program, and then commenting and feeding back through the system or uploading a revised document. Note this little button here is the history button, so you can still see all the history, and these are the mark revisions that I was referring to before. If this is in not staff-only visibility mode, those mark revisions will just all stack on top of each other, so you won't have many mark revisions over time. If, of course, you do publish the mark to the student and then you revise it, it will create a new revision for the student to see that they first received one mark and then it was changed to a different mark. Okay, now I'm going to go through the resource booking system just quickly. A few different parts. The resource booking system, firstly, you can see a new link down the side here, resource booking. The resource booking system is basically the ability to load your resources into the system. Now I've got some basic setup here with the Oval, Computer Lab, video camera. Each of these is a resource that I've set up within the school. And you can see you can also categorize these resources into various different areas of the school, rooms, sports grounds. So you can set up your own categories, your own way of organizing all of your resources in the system. I'm going to go up to my Computer Lab now, and I can see now I've got my complete detail of my Computer Lab. Obviously this is all editable, you can put in your own details. You'll also see rules here associated with who can book, when they can book, all the parts of rules that have apply to this particular resource. So as you create resources, you'll also be setting up rules around what and how that can be used. Below here we have a calendar. This calendar can be viewed in both week and in the month or day. So you can see fine-grained when this Computer Lab is actually currently booked, and I can see that it's available just before 11 AM. So I can create a booking here, and I'll just book that. Oh no, I won't. Or not. I'll just use my existing bookings. No, I booked it anyway. I don't know why it wasn't booking. So you can see my booking in there. 11:30 on 11 AM. I can obviously create any number of bookings there. I have the ability to control the moderators, who's in charge of those bookings. I can control if I go into actually modifying this event, and I'll have to log out and log back in again. When this resource is set up, I can control the bookings. I can control related resources. I can also control the detail, obviously, image, and the rules associated with that particular resource. Now the other thing that this system does is it integrates directly into your existing calendar system. So within the calendar system, you'll now see the bookings that I've made appear in my calendar. So if I've made a booking, it will appear in my calendar. If I'm the moderator of a particular room, any bookings on any rooms that I'm a moderator for will also appear in my calendar. So I'll be able to see all of the bookings for rooms that I manage. The other part of this system is that we've created a dashboard component. This dashboard component will automatically show you any bookings that you need to confirm as the moderator. At the moment I don't have any to confirm, but if I did, I would have a question there, do I want to confirm this booking? And I can press OK, and that will confirm and lock that booking into the system. You'll auto notice back when I was making that booking on that computer lab that it asked me if I wanted to book it by timetable. So if I book by timetable, I select the campuses, I select day 3, and I select period 3, and it will automatically calculate the date and time of that period, and I click that's OK, and it fills out the time for me. So it's using the existing timetable definition from your school management system to populate the date and time for that particular booking.
James, it's Sean. Just letting you know, we've got a lot of a lag coming through on the video feed. It's been sort of happening from the start, so the best thing I can recommend is to go as slow as possible with changing screens and so forth, because you're losing a lot of frames.
Sure. Well, I'm just about finished anyway. So that's about wraps up the system and a quick overview of it. I guess now we will go to some questions. If anyone has any particular questions they'd like answered. Sean, do you have any questions for me?
I do. I guess since you're on the resource booking system, I can start there. Michelle and Natalie from SOX, they've sort of asked a couple of questions. First of all, if they can sync from Synergetic in terms of, I guess, their booking, resource booking module, and also if they can print out the booking calendar.
Okay, so currently this is completely independent from Synergetic's resource booking system. It's a completely separate standalone system. If you did have your resources in Synergetic, we could certainly import them from Synergetic into Schoolbox. That's nothing that would be too difficult. But in terms of them using the same system, they're not the same system, so they wouldn't be ever synced. We do plan on also extending this system to be aware of Synergetic timetabling. So at the moment it doesn't have it, but these computer lab, for example, will have a room ID. That room ID will then reference to look up in Synergetic and find any existing timetabled courses against that room and make sure that you don't book over the top of those timetabled lessons already. So we do plan to add that ability in, but at the moment that's not there. It'll be probably out in the next week or two.
The next one was from Dan Weatherhead. He asked, he said he may have missed this, but does the resource room booking system sync from the Synergetic timetables?
Yeah, so that was what I was just saying at the end there, is that we do plan to sync it to the timetables. It isn't there right now in this pre-alpha build, but it will be there probably in the next week or two as we add on extra features. The only issues we're really dealing with at the moment is the resource load. We have found it to be a bit slow loading timetable information into our calendar, so we're just working out how we're going to best optimize that to make sure that it doesn't slow down the whole system loading timetables into the calendar every time you view a resource or look at your own timetable, your own calendar for that matter. Just going back onto the printing of the calendar. Currently the calendar is not printable. We sort of haven't really built in a printable system. Potentially there could be the ability to export this data. We haven't added in an export yet, but if we did, the export would be what we print from.
Okay, the next one is from Mary Lou. In relation to Inline Grader, is there an additional cost for the Crocodoc service?
Sure. So with the Inline Grader, the Crocodoc service is charged per document. We're currently reviewing both school usages of how much they're using the learning management systems, and we're negotiating with Crocodoc for pricing on a bulk level. At the moment, if you were to use the service, you could go directly to Crocodoc and purchase an API key and pay them per document and use it as is, and there'd be no problem with that. But we'd like to obviously negotiate a bulk purchase on everyone's behalf and make sure we get the best price for everyone. And so we're probably in the process of doing that and releasing pricing next week sometime. We'll have pricing on what we can achieve as a bulk package, I guess, for everyone.
A couple more on the resource booking, and then I've got to go back through some of the other things. Richard Jones has asked, can you group rooms by building or campus, and are resources, things inside rooms, able to be attached to rooms?
Okay, so yes to both of those questions. I would recommend creating obviously categories based on the structure of your school. So you might have senior school rooms, junior school rooms, however you want to break down those categories, you can break them any way you like to create the organisational structure that suits your requirements. So that I don't think there should be any problem there. And we deliberately haven't made it too complex, but at the same time, because we didn't want people having to dig through a big tree of categories to find things, but at the same time, you should be able to configure that to suit your requirements. In terms of linking things together, when I modify this resource, you'll see that I have the ability to create related resources. And I can, for example, put the video camera as a related resource into this room. So any resources that are related, I can put them and relate them directly to that. When I then make a booking against that particular computer lab, it'll ask me if I do want to include the video camera in my booking as well, so that you can obviously apply a whole lot of related resources and people can then just tick the ones that they want to be included in that booking. We'll make a booking for all of the items that they tick.
Okay, I've got a fair few more coming through now. Sue from Tintone's asked, is it possible to overwrite someone else's booking? If so, can you track down who got in first?
So we've done a whole lot of work with conflict resolution at the moment. Basically, the moderator has overriding control of that moderation. You can't, at the moment, if you're not a moderator, book over the top of someone else whose booking has been confirmed. So you can't actually book if it has been already booked in, so you won't be able to override that. You'll have to go to the moderator to make the booking and move other bookings around. So there's no way to say I'm more important than someone else when making a booking. It's first come, first serve. However, the moderator does have overriding control of those bookings. So yes and no. It doesn't automatically resolve conflicts, but it will prevent duplicate bookings and it will allow you to override if required.
And there's a fair few still relating to all this. Mary Lou said, can you add a person, i.e. the AV tech, to a required resource?
Sure, not a problem.
Yep. And
anything can be a resource.
What's the difference between moderated and managed resources?
Okay. So the difference between moderated and managed is that, just for those that didn't know, there's up here that's open, moderated and managed. Open means that anyone can book that resource. It's an open resource for booking. Moderated means that the booking must be moderated by and approved by a room moderator or a resource moderator before it is locked in. Now, managed means that it can only be booked by the moderators. So no one other than the moderators can actually make bookings on that room. Everyone can see the bookings that are on that room, but only the moderators can actually make bookings into that room.
Excellent. Okay. Back on Colab Docs, Mary Lou's asked what sort of perhaps rather than can you save that to Google Docs or to SkyDrive or something, what do you imagine the future to be for integration with Google Docs and Drive and that type of thing with collaborative documents?
Okay, so obviously with the incoming swell of schools that are signing up to both Google and to SkyDrive, we want to respond by making sure that when you post files into Schoolbox, you can set the source as from your Google Drive or SkyDrive and upload directly from those drives. So I see the future as allowing students to click a button when they submit work and select either their Google Drive or select their SkyDrive as one of the sources for that file. So rather than just limiting them to uploading from their computer or the network drive, allowing them to actually upload from any cloud source as well. And we extend that not just into the submission system, but posting files. Also, potentially the social stream could have the ability to post links to documents, and potentially I would see things like the text editor also having the ability to browse into your cloud drives as well. So we're completely aware that we'll be moving away from network drives probably in the next 6 to 12 months and focusing more on cloud-based drives and allowing people to submit, share resources from those locations in Schoolbox as well.
Thanks, James. I've got some more for the resource booking system. Actually, one more from Walter. He says, what's the resource cancellation process? Does it notify all involved? And I guess where don't notifications come in and alerts come in throughout resource booking?
Sure. So I don't think they're actually installed on this version. But if you go into the messaging system under notifications, when we do the final release of this will actually have a resource booking area in here. You'll be able to control all the notifications that are sent from the resource booking system. Now, those notifications will be things for when a booking is requested on a room that you moderate, when a room is approved when a booking is approved that you made. All of those will have notifications that you'll be able to control how that notification is sent and when, and you'll also be able to allow your users to also configure themselves how they receive notifications. So you may have your room managers receive an email instantly whenever someone makes a booking on any of their resources, and then the person who made the booking may just get a pop-up notification in their browser when that is approved and they have to go ahead to have that event. Answer that question?
Yeah, David Moore from St. Pat's had some questions around notifications, so that's kind of timely. A few different ones. Firstly, what is the email digest, and I guess what is it? How is the content in the email digest, constructed, etc.?
Okay. So just going back to the top level tab here, you'll see that there's this preview digest emails button. Now that brings up the digest email, what it looks like. Now what the digest email is basically the way to wrap up all your notifications into a single email. Now personally, I don't like receiving 20 emails a day from one system telling me every time something happens in the system. It gets frustrating and annoying to me. So I prefer digest. So, and a digest is a daily notification or a weekly notification of all the activity that's occurred that you need to be aware of has occurred, but all wrapped up into a single email. So you can see here the types of things that it does. It wraps up what work you have due and when it's due. It wraps up the news that's been posted into the system. It wraps up news or forum posts. All of those sort of things can be wrapped up into your digest email so that you receive a one email with all the stuff that you need to know. This is particularly useful for parents. We originally designed it for parents so that we had parents that were never logging into the system, never seeing the news that was being posted. So this allows you to set up a digest, send out every Thursday or Friday an email to all parents with all the news items that have been posted during the week that parents will then receive and be able to click through and see all the articles. It's like a newsletter basically. That's the general idea of it. But it's using all of the power of the notification system to collect all of that information up and put it together, the user, and send it out to them.
Lou said, can an individual choose how often they received the digest? Is the frequency parent controlled?
No, we've decided that the frequency would be controlled at a system level. However, parents can control what they receive. So back in the configure message settings, you'll see that you have the ability down here. I'll just have a look here, content management. You can control what, for example, in this case, they're receiving it via digest, but the parents have got the ability to select either digest, instant, or email, or off. So they can actually unsubscribe personally from particular notifications appearing in their digest. If they unsubscribe from everything in their digest, they will not receive a digest email at all. So although they can't change the frequency, they can change the content, and by changing the content, they can practically unsubscribe. Now you may decide that it's not appropriate that they unsubscribe and that they have to receive this information, so that's why these controls allow you to move up the setting and say, no, sorry, you're not allowed to unsubscribe from that particular notice. You must at least get it in a digest email, if not in an email on its own.
Thanks, James. If students are using iPads, what form can they receive notifications?
So they will, all of these systems obviously work regardless of what device you're on. So it's independent of a particular device. Firstly, when viewing the system on an iPad, this pop-up thing will work as it would on any other device, so there's no difference between that. Obviously, notifications are via email. I'd imagine that the email system would be configured in the iPad, so it would pop up notification that they've received an email, which is a good way to push out notices to them. There are some plans afoot as well for us to extend the notification into some other types of notification systems. We're thinking about extending it into a native app for Apple devices so that we can push notifications directly to an app. And we're also thinking about extending it for the purposes of perhaps SMS, so that if there is critical messages that you want to alert parents via SMS, you may provide an SMS gateway that will allow you to actually send SMSs from in Schoolbox via the notification system as well.
A really good question from Tintern. If students submit surveys, or users I should say, submit surveys multiple times, does each submission overwrite the previous, or does the teacher receive all submissions separately?
The teacher receives all submissions separately. This is for the survey, is that correct, Sean? I lost them. Okay, so they do.
Yes.
We do keep every attempt. We do keep every attempt of the survey, so that's kept over. Every attempt is included in the export of the CSV when you export it, and you will see every attempt. If you don't want all those attempts, you can of course delete old attempts. The system does allow you to go in and delete previous attempts as well. So by all means, you can clean up the attempts if you don't want them there. And then messing up your graphs or anything like that, you can delete them.
Okay, well there are all the questions that I had. Meriden has just asked how far down the road is the SMS functionality?
Look, it's just an idea at the moment. We really want to go out to schools and see how interested schools are in the idea. It's been raised a couple of times, perhaps notifying parents of overdue work via SMS and other ideas like that. We do have the technology to do things like that. but I guess it's a thing about the cost. But if schools are happy to wear that cost, we'd probably be happy to investigate it. Look, it'd probably be 12 months down the track. I think from what my gut feeling is that people are more interested in an app at the moment and push notifications to an app. So we'll probably prioritise the app over SMS at the moment, just because with the app it doesn't cost the school anything to deliver the message, yet it still has the same effect of vibrating in their mobile phone in their pocket, but it does it for free. So I think the app's the preferred solution for most schools.
Questions I've listed, so I think you've gone through everything. Is there anyone else that has any last questions before we wrap it up? All right. Well, James, I'll let you wind things up, and I'll be pushing this onto our YouTube channel as soon as I can this afternoon, hopefully. So it will be here for you to syndicate, and we'll send an email out to everyone so that you get that link. So thank you again.
Thank you everyone for your time. I hope you found it useful. Feel free and make sure that over the next few weeks you do continue to submit issues that you find with the system. I'm obviously going to submit my resource booking issue that I just found, but anything like that you find while you're having a look through the system, please let us know. It's really important to us to get it as stable as possible before we do the final release. At this stage we are looking to do a release in around 2 weeks. We have got about 30 or 40 issues that have been reported, so thank you for everyone who's so far tested and submitted issues for us. So that's been great. We'll fix up those issues, and we're looking to have a final release in around 2 weeks' time. We'll also have some confirmation on costs for you next week regarding the resource booking system and also the Inline grader. If we can do a deal with that for you, we'll let you know. So that'll all come out next week. So thanks everyone again for your time, and we'll speak to you all soon.